The small cargo ship drifted slowly through space near the busy trade routes around Kepler Station. Its hull was old and scratched from many years of carrying goods between planets. The ship looked harmless and defenseless, just another trader, trying to make money in the vast galaxy. Captain Thex of the pirate vessel Crimson Talon watched the cargo ship through his view screen. His sharp yellow eyes gleamed with greed as he studied the target. The ship was perfect for raiding. It was alone, small, and appeared to have no weapons or strong shields. "First Mate Gorvac, prepare the boarding party," Thex ordered. His voice was rough and commanding. "This looks like easy money." Gorvac's purple tentacles moved quickly over his control panel. The tall alien had been raiding ships for 20 years and knew what to look for. This cargo vessel was exactly the kind of target they loved to find. Small crews, valuable cargo, and no way to fight back. "Weapons charged, Captain," reported Corlax from the weapons station. The veteran raider's 4 arms worked smoothly as he prepared their ship for attack. "Their shields are weak. We can disable them in minutes." Young Zekton looked up from his scanner station with excitement. This was only his 3rd raid since joining the crew. "Captain, I'm reading standard cargo containers, probably full of expensive goods from the inner planets." Thex smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Perfect. Move us closer. Send the usual surrender message." The Crimson Talon moved toward the cargo ship like a predator stalking its prey. The pirate vessel was 3 times larger than their target and covered in weapons. Its dark hull was painted with red markings that struck fear into the hearts of merchant crews across the sector. Inside the cargo ship Soul's Pride, Captain Jihoon sat in his pilot chair drinking coffee from a worn metal cup. He was a middle-aged human with kind eyes and steady hands. His uniform was clean but old, showing the patches and repairs of a working spacer. "Minji, how are the engines looking?" he called to his engineer. Minji crawled out from under a control panel, her coveralls dirty with grease. She was younger than Jihoon, but just as experienced with the ship's systems. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and she had a small wrench tucked behind one ear. "The left engine is making that noise again," she said, wiping her hands on a rag. "Nothing serious, but we should get it checked at the next station." Jihoon nodded and took another sip of coffee. The Soul's Pride was an old ship, but it was reliable. He and Minji had been working together for 5 years, carrying cargo between the colonies. It was honest work, even if it didn't make them rich. "Any other ships in the area?" Jihoon asked, looking at his scanner display. "Just that big one that's been following us for the last hour," Minji said, pointing at a red dot on the screen. "Probably another cargo hauler taking the same route." As the Crimson Talon moved closer, its computer systems automatically scanned the small cargo ship. The results appeared on screens throughout the pirate vessel. Ship class, cargo type, crew, size, and weapon status all showed up in neat columns of data. Then something unexpected happened. Deep in the Soul's Pride's computer core, an old defense program activated. It was a system installed years ago during the wars between humans and the alien confederations. The program had been sleeping for decades, but it recognized the aggressive scanning patterns of the pirate ship. Suddenly, every communication channel in the area crackled with an automated message. The voice was cold and mechanical, but clear enough for every ship within 50 light years to hear. "Attention pirates. Intruder identified. Species 001. Human. Immediate retreat recommended." The message repeated 3 times, echoing across space like a warning bell. On the bridge of the Crimson Talon, silence fell like a heavy blanket. Every crew member froze at their stations. The excited chatter about easy money died instantly. Captain Thex felt his blood turn cold. His yellow eyes went wide with sudden fear. Did that say Species 001? First Mate Gorvac's tentacles began to shake. His purple skin turned pale as the full meaning of the message hit him. "Human," he whispered. "There's a human on that ship." The bridge erupted in panicked voices. "We need to leave now. Turn the ship around. Plot a jump to hyperspace." Young Zekton looked confused. "What's wrong? It's just one small cargo ship. What's a human?" Veteran Raider Corlax grabbed the young alien by the shoulders. His 4 arms trembled with fear. "You don't know what you're saying, boy. Humans aren't just another species. They're They're different. Captain Thex was already shouting orders. Gorvac, get us out of here. Maximum speed. But Captain, Zekton protested, we outnumber them. Our ship is bigger. How can one human be dangerous? You don't understand, Thex snapped. Species 001 isn't just a number. It's a warning. Humans were the first species ever classified as a galactic-level threat. Not because of their technology or their weapons, but because of what they do when they're cornered. The Crimson Talon began to turn away from the Soul's Pride. Its engines fired at full power as the pirate ship fled from what had seemed like easy prey just moments before. Aboard the Soul's Pride, Jihoon and Minji noticed the sudden change in the other ship's behavior. That's weird, Minji said, watching her scanner. That ship was coming toward us, but now it's moving away fast. Jihoon checked his instruments. Maybe they realize we're not going to the same destination. Or maybe they got an emergency call. Neither human heard the automated warning message. Their ship's communication system was focused on the trade frequencies, not the military channels where the warning had been broadcast. They had no idea that their mere presence had just terrified an entire pirate crew. The coffee dispenser is broken again, Minji complained, pressing buttons that didn't respond. I'll take a look at it later, Jihoon said. We should reach Kepler Station in 6 hours. Maybe we can get replacement parts there. As the Soul's Pride continued on its peaceful journey, the Crimson Talon jumped to hyperspace and disappeared. Within minutes, the pirate ship was 3 star systems away, its crew still shaking from their close encounter with humanity. The automated warning message continued to echo through space for several more minutes before finally stopping. But the damage was already done. Every ship that heard the broadcast now knew that humans were active in the Kepler sector. On distant planets and space stations, alien pirates and criminals began making plans to avoid the area entirely. The mere mention of Species 001 was enough to cancel raids, abandon territories, and seek safer hunting grounds far from human space. Jihoon finished his coffee and started preparing for their arrival at Kepler Station. He had cargo to deliver, supplies to buy, and repairs to arrange. It was just another normal day for a human cargo captain. He had no idea that he and Minji had just become the most feared beings in 3 star systems, simply by existing. The Crimson Talon raced through hyperspace at maximum speed. In the ship's common room, the pirate crew sat in worried silence. Captain Thex paced back and forth, his clawed feet clicking on the metal floor. The excitement of their planned raid had turned into fear and confusion. Young Zekton sat at a corner table, his green skin pale with worry. He kept thinking about what had happened. The other pirates acted like they had barely escaped death, but all he saw was one small cargo ship, with 2 crew members. I still don't understand, Zekton said finally. Why did we run? We had bigger guns, more crew, and stronger shields. How could one human be so dangerous? The other pirates looked at each other nervously. Nobody wanted to talk about it, but they all knew the stories. Finally, old Korlax stood up from his chair. His forearms moved slowly as he walked over to Zekton. Sit down, youngling, Korlax said in his deep voice. You need to learn about the humans before you get us all killed. Korlax had been a pirate for 40 years. He was one of the few crew members old enough to remember the Confederation Wars. His scarred face and missing eye told the story of many battles across the galaxy. The humans earned their Species 001 classification during the war's 50 years. Ago, Korlax began. Back then, we thought they were just another weak species from a small planet. We were wrong. Zekton leaned forward, interested despite his fear. What happened? The Battle of Rigel 7, Korlax said, his voice becoming quiet. I was there. The Confederation had trapped a human fleet in that system. 30 of our best warships against 5 human vessels. We should have won easily. Other pirates gathered around to listen. Even though they knew the story, they wanted to hear it again. Stories about human battles were told like legends throughout the galaxy. The humans were outnumbered 6-1, Korlax continued. Their ships were damaged and running low on supplies. Any other species would have surrendered, but humans don't think like other species. What did they do? Zekton asked. They improvised, Korlax said, the word coming out like a curse. One of their ships, the Busan Defender, was barely holding together. Its weapons were offline, engines, failing life support systems breaking down. Captain Hyunwoo was in command. Korlax paused to take a drink from his cup. His hands shook slightly as he remembered. Instead of surrendering, Captain Hyunwoo did something nobody expected. He took apart his ship's life support system and turned it into a weapon. Used the emergency oxygen tanks as explosives, the air, recycling pumps as projectile launchers, and the heating system as a beam weapon. The pirates around the table shivered. They had all heard versions of this story, but it never got less frightening. But that's impossible, Zekton protested. Life support systems aren't weapons. You can't just change what they do. That's what makes humans dangerous, Korlax explained. They don't see things the way we do. Where we see a life support system, they see parts that can be used for something else. Where we see a hopeless situation, they see a puzzle to solve, Botanbai. Thex stopped pacing and joined the group. Tell him about the mining charges, he said grimly. Korlax nodded. The Busan Defender had a cargo hold full of mining explosives. Regular mining charges meant for breaking up asteroids. Captain Hyunwoo used them to create a chain reaction that disabled 6 of our warships. How? Zekton asked, though he wasn't sure. He wanted to know. He figured out how to make the charges work in space vacuum, Korlax said. Used the ship's waste disposal system to launch them at exactly the right angles. When they exploded, the debris hit our ships like bullets. 3 ships lost their engines, 2 lost their weapons, and 1 lost life support. The room was quiet except for the humming of the ship's engines. Every pirate was thinking about the same thing, how humans could turn anything into a weapon. The worst part, Captain Thex added, is that Captain Hyunwoo was making it up as he went along. The Confederation intelligence later found his ship's logs. He had no plan. He just kept trying different things until something worked. Zekton felt sick. But surely that was just one lucky captain. Not all humans can be like that. First mate, Gorvak laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell him about the cargo hauler incident. Korlax sat back down heavily. 3 years ago, a single human cargo ship fought off an entire pirate fleet near the Antares system. The ship was called the Daegu Runner, commanded by Captain Mikyung. She was carrying farming equipment. Farming equipment? Zekton repeated. Plows, seed planters, irrigation pumps, Korlax listed. Nothing that should be dangerous. But when 12 pirate ships surrounded her, Captain Mikyung turned that farming equipment into a defense system. She used the irrigation pumps to spray corrosive chemicals at our ships, Captain Thex explained. The seed planters became projectile weapons. The plows were turned into ramming devices. In 2 hours, she disabled 8 ships and forced the other 4 to retreat, Gorvak added. All with farming tools. Zekton looked around at the serious faces of his crewmates. Are you saying that any human can do this? That's exactly what we're saying, Korlax replied. Humans don't think like other species. They see solutions where we see problems. They see weapons where we see tools. They see opportunities where we see disasters. But why are they so different? Zekton asked. Captain Thex sat down at the table. Nobody knows for sure. Some say it's because their planet was so dangerous that only the creative ones survived. Others think it's because they evolved as hunters and had to adapt quickly to catch their prey. What I know, Korlax said firmly, is that humans have never lost a war. Not one. They've fought the Zelkari Empire, the Therian Confederation, the Nexus Alliance, and dozens of smaller conflicts. They always win, usually by doing something nobody expects. The scary part, Gorvak added, is that they don't even try to be frightening. They just solve problems in ways that seem obvious to them, but impossible to everyone else. Zekton was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had heard. So when that warning said, Species 001, it meant we were about to attack the most dangerous type of being in the known galaxy, Captain Thex finished, a human who was just trying to do their job. Meanwhile, aboard the Soul's Pride, Captain Ji-hoon and Engineer Minji continued their peaceful journey toward Kepler Station. They had no idea that their names were already being added to the pirate warning networks across 3-star systems. Minji had given up trying to fix the coffee dispenser and was now reading a technical manual about engine maintenance. Ji-hoon was calculating their arrival time and checking the cargo manifest. We should reach the station right on schedule, Ji-hoon said. The dockmaster will be happy. We're carrying medical supplies this time. Good, Minji replied without looking up from her manual. Maybe we can get that replacement part for the #2 engine, and definitely something for this coffee machine. I can probably fix it with some spare parts, Ji-hoon said casually. How hard can it be? If the pirates could have heard this conversation, they would have been even more terrified. To them, Ji-hoon's casual confidence about fixing broken equipment was exactly the kind of thinking that made humans so dangerous. Back on the Crimson Talon, the crew was still discussing human tactics. The important thing to remember, Korlax told Zekton, is that humans don't mean to be scary. They're just trying to get their jobs done. But when something gets in their way, they find a solution. And their solutions are usually very bad news for whoever is causing the problem. Zekton nodded slowly. So we should avoid humans completely? All smart pirates do, Captain Thex confirmed. The Galactic Pirate Alliance issued official guidelines 5 years ago. Any operation that might encounter humans is automatically canceled. What if we accidentally run into one? Zekton asked nervously. Apologize politely and leave immediately, Gorvak advised. Most humans are reasonable if you don't threaten them. But if you make them angry... The first mate didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Every pirate in the galaxy knew what happened to those who made humans angry. As the Crimson Talon continued its flight through hyperspace, its crew began making plans to avoid the Kepler sector entirely. Word was already spreading through the pirate networks. Species 001 was active near Kepler Station. The humans, completely unaware of the fear they had inspired, continued toward the station with their cargo of medical supplies, still wondering why that other ship had left so quickly. The news spread through the pirate networks faster than light itself. Within hours of the Crimson Talon's panicked retreat, communication channels across the galaxy buzzed with urgent warnings. The message was always the same. Species 001 was active in the Kepler sector. On the asteroid mining station Broken Rock, pirate Captain Nexlar received the news while planning a raid on 3 cargo ships. His crew had spent weeks preparing for the operation. They had studied the ship's routes, identified their weaknesses, and gathered intelligence on their cargo. Cancel everything, Nexlar ordered his crew. We're leaving the sector immediately. His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Grix, looked confused. Captain, we've invested too much time in this operation to abandon it now. The cargo ships are carrying rare metals worth millions, and one of them might have a human crew, Nexlar snapped. I'm not risking my ship and crew for any amount of money. But Captain, Grix protested, the odds of actually encountering a human are tiny. There are only a few million of them in the entire galaxy. Nexlar's eyes flashed with anger. You fool. It only takes one human to destroy an entire fleet. Have you forgotten the massacre at Vendor's Point? Grix fell silent. Every pirate knew that story. 23 pirate ships destroyed by a single human freighter captain who had improvised weapons from kitchen equipment and maintenance tools. Within an hour, Nexlar's fleet had jumped to hyperspace, abandoning their carefully planned raid. They were not the only ones. Across the sector, pirate operations shut down as crews fled to safer hunting grounds. The panic reached all the way to the top of the criminal hierarchy. On the hidden fortress world of Shadowport, the leaders of the major pirate organizations held an emergency meeting. Pirate Lord Vexthar stood before a gathering of the most feared criminals in the galaxy. His red eyes scanned the assembled captains and crime bosses. The room was filled with beings who had terrorized star systems and destroyed entire fleets, but today they looked nervous and afraid. The situation is clear, Vexthar announced. Human activity in the Kepler sector has cost us 15 planned operations and over 50 million credits in abandoned raids. Murmurs of anger and fear rippled through the crowd. These were beings who had built their fortunes on violence and intimidation, but the mere mention of humans made them uneasy. Perhaps we should strike first, suggested Captain Zelkor, a brutal raider known for destroying entire colonies. Catch the humans before they can adapt to our tactics. The room fell silent. Then, slowly, other pirates began to laugh. Not happy. Laughter, but the bitter laughter of beings who knew they were facing something beyond their understanding. "You obviously haven't studied human military history," said an old pirate named Corvin. "The last time someone tried to strike first against humans was the Therian War. The Therians had the largest military in the galaxy. They started with surprise attacks on 3 human colonies." "What happened?" asked a younger pirate. "The humans didn't just fight back," Corvin explained. "They rewrote the rules of warfare. They turned supply ships into weapons, civilian factories into military production centers, and mining colonies into fortress worlds. The war lasted 6 months. The Therian Empire lasted 3. Vexthar nodded grimly. "The humans didn't just defeat the Therians. They absorbed their best technologies, recruited their best scientists, and turned their own weapons against them. By the end of the war, former Therian soldiers were fighting alongside human forces." "But that was a full military conflict," Captain Zelkor protested. "This is just pirates against cargo haulers." "There is no just when it comes to humans," Vexthar replied. "They don't see differences between military and civilian situations. They see problems that need solving. And when humans solve problems involving hostile forces, those forces usually end up dead or wishing they were dead." The meeting continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. The pirate organizations would avoid the Kepler sector entirely, until the human presence moved elsewhere. Meanwhile, on the planet Nexus Prime, a different kind of meeting was taking place. In a dark alley behind the spaceport, information broker Sklyte was conducting business with nervous clients. Sklyte was a thin, nervous alien with large eyes and quick hands. He made his living selling information to anyone willing to pay. Today, his customers were all asking for the same thing. "I need to know if there are humans on this trade route," said a small-time smuggler, sliding a bag of credits across the table. "Human movement data for the next month," requested a cargo thief, adding his payment to the pile. "Early warning system for human ships," demanded a protection racket boss, dropping a heavy credit chip on the table. Sklyte's eyes gleamed as he counted his money. The price for human-related information had tripled overnight. Every criminal in the sector wanted to know where humans might appear so they could avoid those areas. "Information about humans is expensive," Sklyte said smoothly. "But I have what you need." He pulled out a data pad and began transferring files. Current human shipping schedules, crew manifests for ships with human personnel, and early warning protocols for detecting species 001 signatures. The criminals paid without complaint. In their business, avoiding humans was worth any price. As word of the human presence continued to spread, the effects became visible throughout the sector. On Kepler Station itself, Docking Bay Supervisor Fryn noticed something strange. "Where is everyone?" Fryn asked his assistant, a young Altarian named Blix. "I don't understand, sir," Blix replied, looking at his scheduling pad. "We had 15 ships scheduled to dock today, but only 3 have arrived." Fryn checked the communication logs. "Multiple cancellations, emergency departures, route changes." He frowned. "What's going on out there?" The answer came when the Soul's Pride requested docking permission. Fryn's computer system automatically identified the ship's crew composition. When he saw the word human in the species classification, everything became clear. "Clear docking bay 12 immediately," Fryn ordered his staff. "Priority docking for incoming vessel." "But sir," Blix protested, "Bay 12 is our premium dock. It costs 3 times as much as the regular bays." "Just do it," Fryn snapped, "and send complimentary service packages to the crew, food, repairs, whatever they need." Blix looked confused but followed orders. He had been working at the station for only 2 years and had never encountered humans before. He didn't understand why his supervisor was so nervous. Other station personnel began preparing for the human arrival. Maintenance crews double-checked their equipment. Security guards reviewed their politeness protocols. Restaurant owners prepared their best meals. None of them wanted to risk offending a human. The stories of what happened to beings who made humans angry were told throughout the galaxy like ghost stories around a campfire. Meanwhile, Captain Jehoon and Engineer Minji approached the station completely unaware of the preparations being made for their arrival. They could see the massive structure growing larger on their view screen. "Kepler Station always looks impressive," Minji commented, watching the lights that marked the station's docking bays. "Good place to do business," Jehoon agreed. Fair prices, honest dealers, and excellent repair facilities. Hopefully they have a replacement part for the coffee dispenser, Minji said. I'm getting tired of drinking that synthetic stuff from the emergency rations. I still think I can fix it, Jihoon replied. It's probably just a clogged filter or a loose connection. As the Soul's Pride drew closer to the station, automatic scanners identified the ship and its crew. The same defensive system that had broadcast the Species 001 warning earlier was now updating databases throughout the sector. On criminal networks across 3 star systems, alerts began flashing. Human ship approaching Kepler Station. All operations in the area should be suspended immediately. Pirates who had been planning raids on merchant ships suddenly found urgent business elsewhere. Smugglers decided to take longer routes that avoided the station entirely. Even petty thieves in the station's lower levels began looking for other places to work. The irony was perfect. 2 humans carrying medical supplies and worrying about a broken coffee machine had accidentally created the safest trade route in the galaxy, simply by existing. As the Soul's Pride made its final approach to docking Bay 12, Jihoon opened a communication channel with the station. Kepler Station, this is cargo vessel Soul's Pride requesting docking permission. Soul's Pride, you are cleared for immediate docking, came the reply. The traffic controller's voice was carefully polite and slightly nervous. Proceed to Bay 12. All services are standing by. Bay 12? Minji looked surprised. That's the premium bay. Did they make a mistake? Jihoon shrugged. Maybe it was the only one available. We're carrying medical supplies, so maybe they gave us priority. Neither human realized that their ship was being treated like visiting royalty because everyone on the station was terrified of accidentally making them angry. They were just 2 cargo haulers trying to make an honest living, completely unaware that their mere presence had brought peace to an entire sector of space. The Soul's Pride docked at Kepler Station without any problems. As soon as the airlock connected, Captain Jihoon and Engineer Minji were greeted by a small crowd of station personnel. Everyone was unusually helpful and polite. Welcome to Kepler Station, said Supervisor Frin, bowing slightly. I hope your journey was pleasant. Thank you, Jihoon replied, a bit surprised by the formal welcome. We're just here for routine cargo delivery and some minor repairs. Of course, Frin said quickly. Whatever you need, we are at your service. I have prepared our best maintenance crew for your ship. Minji looked at Jihoon with raised eyebrows. Usually, station supervisors didn't personally greet cargo haulers. They typically dealt with junior staff members who processed paperwork and assigned repair schedules. That's very kind, Minji said. We mainly need to check our engines and maybe get a new coffee dispenser. Immediately, Frin promised. I will have technicians look at your engines right away, and please, accept these meal vouchers as our gift to you. Jihoon took the vouchers, confused but grateful. Thank you. You're very generous. As they walked through the station corridors, other aliens quickly moved out of their way. Shop owners smiled nervously and offered discounts. Security guards nodded respectfully. Everyone seemed eager to be helpful. This is strange, Minji whispered to Jihoon. Why is everyone being so nice to us? Maybe they're having a customer. Appreciation Week, Jihoon suggested. Some stations do that to encourage more business. They had no idea that word of their arrival had already spread throughout the station's criminal underworld. In the lower levels where smugglers and thieves usually conducted business, the markets had gone quiet. Shops closed early. Illegal gambling houses shut down. Even pickpockets decided to take the day off. The change was so dramatic that Station Security Chief Varlon noticed it immediately. He had been working at Kepler Station for 15 years and had never seen the crime levels drop so quickly. Look at these reports, Varlon told his deputy, showing a datapad full of statistics. Theft down 90%. Illegal weapons trading stopped completely. Even the protection rackets have disappeared. What caused it? Asked Deputy Rexon. 2 humans docked this morning, Varlon explained. Apparently that was enough to scare every criminal on the station into hiding. Just 2 humans did all this? The reputation of Species 001 is powerful, Varlon said. I've heard stories, but I never believed they could be true. Now I'm starting to think the stories might not be exaggerated enough. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting room deep in the station's maintenance tunnels, the local crime bosses were holding an emergency conference. The room was filled with the kind of beings who usually controlled the station's illegal activities through fear and violence. Crime Lord Vex paced nervously in front of the assembled criminals. His scaled skin was pale with worry. The situation is clear. We have 2 humans on the station. All operations must stop until they leave. But boss, protested a smuggler named Crix, we have deals to complete. Money to make. The humans are just cargo haulers. There is no such thing as just a human, Vex snapped. Have you heard what happened on Titan Station last year? Several criminals shook their heads. A human engineer named Boram was doing routine maintenance work, Vex explained. Some local thieves decided to rob him. They thought one human would be easy prey. What happened? Asked a nervous pickpocket. The human used maintenance tools to disable 6 armed criminals, Vex said. A welding torch became a weapon. Electrical cables became restraints. A simple toolkit became an arsenal. The thieves spent 3 months in the hospital. The room was quiet as the criminals imagined facing such creative violence. The worst part, Vex continued, is that the human didn't even consider it a fight. He filed a report saying he had dealt with a minor workplace disruption. To him, disabling 6 armed attackers was just another job task. A young thief raised his hand. But surely if we avoid bothering them, they won't bother us. That's exactly what we're going to do, Vex confirmed. Nobody approaches the humans. Nobody conducts business near their ship. Nobody does anything that might attract their attention. While the criminals made their plans to avoid them, Ji-hoon and Minji were enjoying the unusual hospitality at Kepler Station. They had finished delivering their medical supplies and were now exploring the shopping district. These prices are amazing, Minji said, looking at a display of engine parts. Everything is marked down. And look at this service, Ji-hoon added, as a shop owner rushed to help them with their purchases. I've never seen station merchants work so hard to please customers. The shop owner, a nervous centaurian named Flux, was practically trembling as he processed their order. He had heard the warnings about humans and was terrified of making a mistake that might anger them. Please, take these spare parts as well, Flux offered, adding extra items to their purchase. No charge. Consider it a thank you for choosing our shop. That's very generous, Ji-hoon said, but we can pay for what we need. I insist, Flux replied quickly. Customer satisfaction is our highest priority. As they continued shopping, Ji-hoon and Minji accumulated more free items than they had purchased. Every merchant seemed eager to give them gifts and discounts. They began to think Kepler Station was the friendliest place they had ever visited. We should come here more often, Minji suggested. The people are so nice. Back on their ship, they began loading their new supplies. The station's maintenance crew had already finished checking their engines and had done more work than requested. Chief Engineer Yulk, Ji-hoon said to the maintenance supervisor, your crew did excellent work. How much do we owe you? Chief Engineer Yulk, a large insectoid with multiple arms, waved dismissively. No charge for routine maintenance. Our pleasure. To serve. No charge? Minji looked surprised. But you replaced 3 components and updated our navigation system. Standard service, Yulk lied. In reality, his crew had been so nervous about working on a human ship that they had done everything perfectly and added several upgrades just to make sure the humans would be satisfied. Well, thank you, Ji-hoon said. This is the best service we've ever received. Unknown to the humans, their cargo manifest had been carefully examined by station security. The discovery that they were carrying experimental mining equipment instead of regular trade goods had caused additional panic among the criminal networks. In another secret meeting, the crime bosses were discussing this new information. Mining equipment? Vex repeated, his voice full of dread. They're carrying mining equipment. What's wrong with mining equipment? Asked the young thief. Remember the Daegu Runner incident, reminded smuggler Crix. A human captain turned farming equipment into weapons. Imagine what they could do with mining equipment. The criminals looked at each other with growing horror. Mining equipment was designed to break apart asteroids and blast through solid rock. In human hands, it could become devastatingly effective. Weaponry. Double the security around our operations, Vex ordered. No, triple it. Actually cancel everything until the humans leave. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon was examining their cargo more carefully. He had discovered that the shipping manifest was incorrect. These aren't the components we were supposed to deliver, he told Minji, showing her the equipment specifications. This is experimental mining gear. Minji looked at the technical readouts. Some of this equipment looks pretty dangerous. Look at all these safety warnings. 17 different warning labels, Jihoon counted. And this instruction manual is 300 pages long. Should we read it? Minji asked. Jihoon shrugged. How complicated can it be? It's just mining equipment. We'll figure it out if we need to. This casual attitude toward potentially dangerous equipment was exactly the kind of thinking that had made humans legendary throughout the galaxy. Other species would spend weeks studying safety manuals and conducting risk assessments. Humans would read the warnings, shrug, and proceed with confidence. We should probably contact the shipping company and let them know about the mix-up, Minji suggested. Good idea, Jihoon agreed. But first, let's grab some lunch. All this generous hospitality is making me hungry. As they left their ship to find food, neither human noticed the way other beings quickly moved out of their path. They didn't see the nervous glances or hear the whispered warnings. They were just two cargo haulers enjoying an unexpectedly pleasant stop at a friendly station. Behind them, their ship sat in the premium docking bay, loaded with experimental mining equipment that could level buildings or crack open asteroids. To the humans, it was just cargo that had been incorrectly labeled. To every criminal on the station, it was a terrifying arsenal in the hands of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The irony was perfect. Jihoon and Minji thought they were having a wonderful day because everyone was being so nice to them. In reality, they were having a wonderful day because everyone was too scared to cause them any trouble. 3 days had passed since the Soul's Pride left Kepler Station. Captain Thex of the Crimson Talon sat in his private quarters, staring at a star chart. The shame of running away from humans was eating at him like acid. His crew had lost respect for him, and word of their cowardly retreat was spreading through the pirate networks. I can't live with this, Thex muttered to himself. One small cargo ship made me look like a fool. He activated his communication system and sent encrypted messages to 2 other pirate captains he trusted. Within hours, he had convinced them to join him in a plan to restore their reputations. Listen carefully, Thex told Captains Norvac and Zeldris during their secret meeting. The humans made us look weak. If we don't do something, every merchant in the galaxy will think they can ignore us. Captain Norvac, a veteran raider with scars covering his blue-scaled face, nodded agreement. My crew is asking questions. They want to know why we're afraid of cargo haulers. The humans got lucky once, added Captain Zeldris, her 4 arms, gesturing as she spoke. But 3 ships against 1? Even humans can't overcome those odds. Thex spread out the star charts on his table. The Soul's Pride will pass through the asteroid field of Carix on their return journey. It's the perfect place for an ambush. Lots of cover, no witnesses, and 3 exit routes in case things go wrong. What about their reputation? Norvac asked nervously. The stories say humans can turn anything into a weapon. Stories, Thex scoffed, though his voice wasn't entirely confident. We have real weapons, modern ships, superior numbers. How can 2 humans in an old cargo ship possibly defeat us? The 3 pirate captains spent hours planning their attack. They studied the Soul's Pride's route, calculated the best ambush, positions, and prepared their crews for battle. This time, they told themselves, they would show the galaxy that humans were not invincible. Unknown to the pirates, their communications had been intercepted by the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. On the patrol ship Defender, Commander Terrell listened to the recordings with growing concern. 3 pirate vessels planning to attack a civilian cargo ship, Terrell told his communications officer. Should we warn the humans? Sir, the officer replied. Regulations require us to assist any civilian vessel under threat. Terrell considered this. The humans were clearly in danger. 3 pirate ships against 1 cargo hauler was hardly a fair fight, but then he remembered the reports he had read about human military capabilities. Actually, Terrell said slowly, let's just monitor the situation. Position us nearby in case we need to assist with rescue operations. Rescue operations for the humans, sir? No, Tyrell replied grimly, for whoever survives. Meanwhile, the Soul's Pride continued peacefully through space toward the Carix system. Captain Jihoon and Engineer Minji were in good spirits after their pleasant stop at Kepler Station. "I finally got the coffee dispenser working," Minji announced, holding up a steaming cup. "Turns out it just needed a new filter and some rewiring." "Excellent," Jihoon said, accepting a cup. "Much better than those emergency rations." They were still unaware that their cargo hold contained experimental mining equipment instead of the standard trade goods listed on their manifest. The mistake would have worried most species, but humans had a tendency to adapt to unexpected situations. "We should probably figure out what to do about that mining equipment," Minji said, checking her data pad. "The shipping company still hasn't responded to our messages." "How complicated can it be?" Jihoon replied. "Equipment is equipment. If we need to deliver it somewhere, we'll figure out how it works." This casual confidence was exactly what made humans so dangerous in the eyes of other species. While aliens would spend weeks studying technical manuals and safety procedures, humans would examine unfamiliar equipment and immediately start experimenting with ways to use it. As they approached the Carix asteroid field, their ship's sensors detected the 3 pirate vessels lying in wait. The pirates had positioned themselves behind large asteroids, planning to spring their trap when the Soul's Pride entered the field. "3 ships on our scanners," Minji reported, frowning at her display. "They're not moving, but their engines are powered up." Jihoon studied the tactical display. The ships were clearly positioned for an ambush. Their weapon systems were charged and ready. There was no doubt about their intentions. "Pirates," Jihoon said calmly. "Looks like they want to fight." "Should we try to go around the asteroid field?" Minji asked. "That would add 2 days to our journey," Jihoon replied. "And they might just follow us anyway." He considered their options. The Soul's Pride was not a warship. It had minimal shields and no real weapons. Against 3 pirate vessels, any normal cargo ship would be helplessly outgunned. But humans didn't think like other species. "Minji," Jihoon said, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Remember that experimental mining equipment? The stuff with 17 safety warnings?" Minji asked, already understanding where this was going. "How do you feel about some creative problem-solving?" The pirates watched as the Soul's Pride entered the asteroid field instead of turning away. Captain Thex smiled with satisfaction. The humans were walking straight into his trap. "All ships, power up weapons," Thex ordered. "Surround the cargo vessel. This time they won't escape." The 3 pirate ships emerged from behind their asteroid hiding places. They moved to surround the Soul's Pride, cutting off all escape routes. Their weapons locked onto the human ship. "Attention cargo vessel," Thex broadcast on all frequencies. "You are surrounded. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded." On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Jihoon opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Jihoon of the Soul's Pride. We're just carrying cargo. There's no need for violence." "Surrender. Now," Thex demanded, "or we will destroy your ship." Jihoon looked at Minji and shrugged. "I guess they don't want to be reasonable." "So what's the plan?" Minji asked, though she was already moving toward the cargo hold. "Well," Jihoon said thoughtfully, "we have mining equipment designed to break apart asteroids, and we're in an asteroid field, and those pirates are positioned very precisely between us and some very large rocks." Minji grinned. "I like the way you think." While the pirates waited for their surrender, the 2 humans quickly examined the experimental mining equipment. The devices were designed to fracture asteroids using controlled resonance charges that would create precise cracks in rock formations. "According to this manual," Minji said, reading quickly, "these resonance charges can destabilize the molecular structure of solid objects up to 5 kilometers away. And look at this," Jihoon added, pointing to another piece of equipment. "Gravitational field manipulators for moving asteroid fragments. We could use these to change the trajectory of rocks." "How long do we have?" Minji asked. "The pirates are still waiting for us to surrender," Jihoon replied. "Maybe 10 minutes before they get impatient." For most species, 10 minutes would not be enough time to understand complex mining equipment, plan an attack strategy, and execute a precise operation. But humans had spent thousands of years learning to think quickly under pressure. Working together, Jihoon and Minji quickly rigged the mining equipment for their purposes. They identified the largest asteroids in the field and calculated the exact resonance frequencies needed to fracture them. Then they used the gravitational manipulators to plot trajectory changes that would send the broken rock fragments toward The pirate ships. Ready? Jihoon asked. Let's see if this works, Minji replied, activating the first resonance charge. The effect was immediate and spectacular. A massive asteroid near the pirate formation suddenly developed hairline cracks that spread across its entire surface. Within seconds, the rock split into dozens of large fragments. What was that? Captain Thex demanded, watching his scanners. With growing alarm. Unknown energy discharge from the cargo ship, his weapons officer reported. The asteroid field is becoming unstable. Before Thex could respond, Minji activated the gravitational manipulators. The asteroid fragments that had been floating harmlessly in space suddenly changed direction, accelerating toward the pirate ships with deadly precision. Evasive maneuvers, Thex shouted. But the pirates had positioned themselves carefully for their ambush, and now that careful positioning worked against them. They were trapped between large asteroids with limited room to maneuver. The first wave of rock fragments struck Captain Norvak's ship, penetrating his shields and damaging his engines. The second wave hit Captain Zeldris, knocking out her weapons. Systems! How are they doing this? Zeldris screamed over the communication channel. Jihoon activated a second resonance charge, fracturing another massive asteroid. This time, he had calculated the frequency to create smaller, faster-moving fragments that spread out like a shotgun blast. They're using the asteroids as weapons, Norvak reported, his ship spinning out of control as more rock fragments struck his hull. That's impossible, Thex protested. You can't weaponize an asteroid field. But humans had a long history of turning impossible situations to their advantage. As Minji guided more fragments toward the pirate ships with surgical precision, Jihoon was already calculating their next move. 2 ships disabled, Minji reported. The third one is trying to retreat. Not so fast, Jihoon said, activating the final resonance charge. The largest asteroid in the F. 6 months had passed since the incident in the Carix asteroid field. The story of how 2 humans had turned mining equipment into a precision weapons system had spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. Every criminal organization, pirate crew, and smuggling operation had heard the tale. The effects were immediate and dramatic. The Kepler sector, once known for dangerous shipping lanes and frequent pirate attacks, had become the safest trade route in 3 star systems. Merchant ships traveled freely without fear. Cargo insurance rates dropped to their lowest levels in decades. Commander Tyrell of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force sat in his office reviewing quarterly crime statistics. The numbers were almost unbelievable. Pirate attacks in the Kepler sector, 0, he read aloud to his assistant. Smuggling incidents, 0. Protection racket operations, 0. Armed robbery, 0. It's remarkable, sir, his assistant replied. Crime has virtually disappeared from an entire sector of space. All because of 2 cargo haulers who wanted to deliver medical supplies, Tyrell mused. I've been recommending humans for honorary peacekeeper status. They've accomplished more crime reduction through reputation alone than most fleets achieve through active patrol. The transformation was even more dramatic in the pirate communities themselves. On the hidden fortress world of Shadowport, the once powerful criminal organizations were struggling to survive. Pirate Lord Vexthar stood before a mostly empty meeting hall, where once dozens of crime bosses had gathered to plan raids and divide territories. Now only a handful of desperate criminals remained. The situation is clear, Vexthar announced to his reduced audience. The humans have destroyed our business model. Merchants no longer fear us. They simply choose routes where humans might be present. But Lord Vexthar, protested one of the remaining pirates, surely we can find sectors where humans don't operate? Every week humans expand into new areas, Vexthar replied grimly. Last month, a human mining ship appeared in the Rigel system. 3 pirate fleets abandoned their bases immediately. This month, human traders opened a new route through the Vega Passage. The entire regional smuggling network collapsed overnight. The pirates looked at each other with growing despair. Their way of life was ending, not through military defeat, but through simple economic pressure. Nobody wanted to risk encountering Species 001. What do we do? Asked a former raid captain. We adapt, Vexthar said reluctantly. Some of our people have found legitimate work. Captain Thex is now running a cargo hauling business. He says the pay is better and the stress is much lower. Meanwhile, on distant Earth, Admiral Young-ho was reading reports in his office at Terran, Defense Force Headquarters. The documents on his desk contained analysis of what military strategists were calling the passive intimidation protocol. According to these numbers, Admiral Young-ho said to his aide, our merchant marine has accidentally created the most effective peacekeeping force in galactic history. How so, sir? The aide asked. Simply by existing, Young-ho explained. Every time a human ship appears in a new system, crime rates drop to near zero. Pirates abandon their territories. Smuggling operations shut down. Criminal organizations relocate to systems where humans have never been seen. Are our merchant crews aware of this effect? Not at all, Young-ho laughed. Captain Jihoon filed a report last week complaining about how difficult it is to find good coffee in space. He mentioned that alien merchants keep giving him free upgrades and premium services, but he assumes it's just good customer service. The aide looked confused. He doesn't know about his reputation? None of them do, Young-ho confirmed. That's what makes it so effective. They're not trying to be intimidating. They're just going about their normal business. But they're casual. Confidence in the face of danger has become legendary throughout the galaxy. Indeed, Captain Jihoon and Engineer Minji were completely oblivious to their fame. They had completed dozens of cargo runs since the asteroid field incident, each time wondering why space travel had become so pleasant and peaceful. Have you noticed how polite everyone is these days? Minji asked as they approached another space station. Very friendly, Jihoon agreed. And the docking fees keep getting cheaper. Maybe the galactic economy is improving. Their ship, the Soul's Pride, had become something of a ghost story among criminal networks. Pirates would flee entire star systems just because someone reported seeing a ship that might be the Soul's Pride. The vessel's registry number was shared in hushed whispers throughout the underworld. Station control. This is cargo vessel Soul's Pride requesting docking permission, Jihoon announced as they approached Frontier Station. There was a brief pause before the response came. Soul's Pride, you are cleared for immediate priority. Docking. Bay 1 is reserved for your arrival. All services are standing by. Bay 1? Minji looked surprised. That's usually reserved for diplomatic vessels. Maybe they're expecting an important shipment, Jihoon suggested, checking their cargo manifest. We are carrying farming equipment this time. Unknown to them, news of their approach had already spread throughout Frontier Station. Criminal operations were shutting down. Black market dealers were closing their shops. Even pickpockets were taking early retirement. Station Security Chief Valdor watched the crime statistics drop in real time as the humans approached. Remarkable, he muttered. Theft reports, 0. Contraband smuggling, 0. Illegal weapons trading, 0. Should we increase patrols while the humans are here? Asked his deputy. Why? Valdor replied. Crime has already stopped. The humans are more effective than our entire security force. As the Soul's Pride docked, Jihoon and Minji noticed the unusual quiet on the station. The normally busy corridors were peaceful. Merchants smiled and offered discounts. Restaurant owners provided complimentary meals. This is the nicest space station we've ever visited, Minji commented, accepting another free upgrade to their ship's supplies. People are so generous out here on the frontier, Jihoon agreed. It's refreshing to see such community spirit. They spent 2 days at Frontier Station, completely unaware that their presence had temporarily transformed one of the galaxy's most dangerous outposts into a model of peaceful commerce. The transformation extended far beyond individual stations. On the planet Nexus Prime, information broker Sklyte had been forced to completely change his business model. No more pirate intelligence, Sklyte announced to his remaining clients. No more criminal network data. No more illegal weapons trading. Information. What will you sell instead? Asked a confused smuggler. Human avoidance schedules, Sklyte replied. I track human shipping routes and sell the information to anyone who wants to avoid those areas. It's more profitable than crime. Data ever was. The irony was perfect. Humans had accidentally created such an effective crime deterrent that even information about avoiding them had become a valuable commodity. Months continued to pass, and the human effect spread throughout the galaxy. The mere possibility of encountering Species 001 was enough to shut down criminal operations across multiple star systems. Captain Thex, the former pirate who had first encountered the Soul's Pride, was now running a successful, legitimate cargo business. His company's slogan was, Honest transport for a safer galaxy. Best decision I ever made, Thex told his employees during a company meeting. Legal cargo hauling pays better than piracy, involves less risk, and doesn't require constantly looking over your shoulder for humans. His crew, former pirates who had also chosen legitimate careers, nodded in agreement. They had discovered that honest work was not only safer, but more profitable than crime. Meanwhile, the Soul's Pride continued its peaceful journeys across the galaxy. Jihoon and Minji had no idea that their ship's registry had become synonymous with peace and safety throughout civilized space. You know, Minji said as they prepared for another routine cargo run, I think space travel is getting safer. We haven't seen any pirates or criminals in months. Good news for honest traders like us, Jihoon replied, starting the ship's engines. Maybe civilization is finally winning against crime. As they jumped to hyperspace, automated systems threw out. 3-star sectors broadcast familiar warnings, but now these messages were no longer feared announcements of danger. They had become reassuring confirmations that the galaxy's most effective peacekeepers were on patrol. Attention. Human vessel detected in sector. All criminal activities suspended. The warnings continued to echo through space, digital monuments to humanity's strangest superpower, the ability to make the extraordinary seem ordinary and the ordinary seem terrifying. Years passed, and the human effect became so well established that the Galactic Criminal Classification System was eventually retired. Not because humans became less formidable, but because they had become so synonymous with peace through superior adaptation that the warnings became unnecessary. Jihoon and Minji, now senior captains with their own small fleet of cargo ships, still had no idea why aliens treated them with such nervous respect. They had concluded that humans must just be naturally good at customer service. Their success had inspired other humans to enter the merchant trade. Soon, human cargo ships were traveling throughout the galaxy, each one creating a bubble of peace and safety wherever they went. The galaxy had become a safer place, protected by humanity's greatest.